Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, Verse 8. So, Arjun, quite melancholily, yet to his credit, quite honestly, is continuing with a narration of his inner state. He is open, he is candid, he isn't hiding. That which is afflicting him at this moment is just no different from what afflicts any other usual mortal. Arjun is just so very normal. Yet this honesty, this nakedness, this preparedness to be exposed fully is what separates him from the millions and billions who miss out on a Krishna, on a Gita. This is something to be repeated till it is understood. The uniqueness, the distinction of Arjun lies in his childlike nakedness, his utter simplicity in front of Krishna. There are no games being played here, no tricks, no tactics, no ambiguity, no equivocality. Just a plain, bland expression of feelings, experience, state as it is to Arjun. Arjun does not mind how it looks and sounds. Arjun knows very well the heights that Krishna occupies, the dimensions atop which Krishna chooses to perch. It would have been very normal of him to feel awkward, rather ashamed of describing his usual mortal emotions, feelings, attachments, tendencies to Krishna. When he too, being a learned man, knows very well how theory and philosophy and scriptures look down upon, even condemn these emotions, etc. He knows that he is neither uneducated nor unintelligent. He knows that if he says that he is gripped with fear or stung by moh, or overpowered by asakti, then it is not something that the scholars would praise him for. He knows very well that these are exactly the mental states that have normally been berated and slighted in the holy books. Would have been very easy for him to just pretend that all is well with him. And if he does not want to fight, it is because of some lofty reason. He could have said that he has lately been instructed by some scholar in the pious doctrine of non-violence, ahimsa. And therefore, he has chosen not to pick weapons and not to ever fight any war. He could have easily pretended and tried to mislead Krishna. No, that's what most people do. Most people simply do not have the honesty and more so the guts to reveal their interiors, especially to someone who can see through your pretense, call a spade, and not commiserate with you. Most people give a lofty veneer to their usual mortal human feelings, intents, and tendencies, don't they? Hardly exists a human being who first of all knows his real intent, and secondly, if he knows it, prefers to and dares to disclose it in front of a wise man. We hide. And hiding is something we cannot very often be accused of. Because to hide something, first of all, you must know that you have it. We don't even hide. First of all, we lose it. There is difference between not having something because you have hidden it and not having something because you have forgotten it, lost it, dropped it. Most people have very little self-knowledge. They do not even know where their feelings and words and desires are coming from. And if at all they do get an inkling, they get so ashamed morally of their situation that they prefer to be hypocritical about it. Simply put, they lie. For example, if I am driven by attachment and fear and greed, let's say, chances are I will not even know what my real drivers are. I will not know that I am acting in such and such ways and moving in such and such directions simply because I am greedy. Avarice and attachment are ruling me. I will not know. I would rather think to myself, well, I am going to that direction because I want to help others. Because I do not want confrontation. Because I am peace-loving. Or because I want to explore the world. Or because I want to enhance my wisdom. When the fact usually would be as it is. With most of the people, most of the times, that one would be driven by one of those very basal emotions. Fear, greed, lust, anger, envy. That's all. There is nothing more to human drive, human ambition, human desire. There is just nothing more than that. It's just that we give fantastic names to those old primitive tendencies. Fantastic, glossy, and very deceptive names. Arjun could have very easily done the same, right? Krishna, I will not fight because I am ahimsak. Krishna, I have lately subscribed to the highest philosophy of non-violence. And therefore, I have given up arms. I'm not fighting. Arjun could have done that, right? Most people do that, don't they? If you don't have the guts to fight, you will say, I'm not fighting because I'm peace-loving. Or if you are too eager to fight, you will say, I'm fighting because I love freedom. Whereas the fact is that you are fighting only because you are angry and greedy and jealous and revengeful. That's what is powering your urge to fight. Does that not happen in most cases? If people fight, why do they fight? Do they fight for freedom? If you find somebody fighting, struggling, what is it that is likely to be driving him or her? Revenge or anger or greed or lust or something of that kind, right? But what would he declare to himself and the world? I am fighting because I do not want to be oppressed. I am fighting against domination. And I am fighting for freedom. That's what is most likely to be heard from him as a declaration of his intent. And it's also false and hypocritical, no? And when he is not fighting, what's likely to be the actual reason? If somebody is not fighting, where there is a choice to fight and to not to fight, what's likely the reason behind his choice? He's simply scared, afraid, or he does not see much benefit from fighting. He says, if I fight and succeed, the maximum that I'll get is 10,000 rupees. And let's put it numerically, for argument's sake. So he says, I'll not fight. Because at stake are only rupees 10,000. You just increase the stakes, make it 10 lakh, and he'll get ready to fight. But he'll not admit that. He will simply say, no, there is this reason, that reason. I'm not fighting because who wants bloodshed? The world is already such a violent and bloody place. Why add to the conflict? And I have been reading great books recently and listening to the songs of saints. And my heart has grown so soft. Therefore, I choose not to fight. Arjun could have done all this and more. Arjun chooses to do none of that. What does he instead do? He, I said, comes out naked like a child. And that's what distinguishes him for all those who could never get close to a Gita. Arjun is as naked as a child is in front of daddy. And he's not ashamed. He's not ashamed. You have got to be not just a kid, but actually a kid so small that you are with no sense of shame at all. Because grown-up kids, they do not come out naked in front of mummy or papa, do they? You know the story of Duryodhan. It's a story. It's a story. You could even call it a myth. But it's a very instructive myth. It carries lots of lessons. So, it is said that Gandhari had developed a great inner power because of her satitva. That's how the story goes. She got married to Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra was blind, absolutely blind since birth. So she said, what's the point in enjoying sight just for yourself, alone? So she said, if the husband cannot see, I'll partner him to the fullest. If he cannot see, I too choose to close my eyes. So, what did she do? She blindfolded herself. And so goes the narrative that because she had not opened her eyes since long, and because she had chosen to voluntarily surrender her sight for a very high ideal, so she had been blessed with great power in her sight. And the gods had said that if ever you choose now to open your eyes, that which you will look at will become unbreakable. Because you have chosen to voluntarily surrender your eyesight, so you are being given a gift, which is that now if you ever choose to look at something, that thing will develop a quality beyond that of this world. In this world, everything is breakable, right? So Gandhari had that gift, that boon. So she knew that Duryodhan ultimately will have to fight Bhim. And the omens were not good at all. She was seeing Krishna is on this side, the other side that is. And she was seeing how the forces were arranged. So one day she called Duryodhan and she said, why don't you just get naked in front of me? Duryodhan did not know what it was all about. But because the mother had called and the mother had ordered, so he complied. But Duryodhan, being a big baby, could not give up on cultivated shame. So he took off all his clothes. But he covered his genitals, his crotch and the other parts with a little piece of cloth or leaves or something. That much of shame he maintained, even in front of the mother. So he goes to the mother and stands, and the mother is still blindfolded, and the mother asks Gandhari, son, have you ensured that you have no clothes on you? And Duryodhan says, yes, Mama, I've taken off everything. She says, fine. And then she removes the cloth. And she looks at Duryodhan. One hand, she feels a certain happiness and charm. It is said Duryodhan was very strongly built and fabulously good looking. So that gave a lot of happiness to her, being a mother. What a tall son, and strongly built and nice looking. And she also became angry and disappointed. Why? She said, what have you done? What have you done? Now one part of your body remains vulnerable. What have you done? He said, but Mama, how can I, I'm a grown-up man. How can I come naked in front of you? Yeah, I'm your mother and I've ordered you something. You fool. Have you not learned discipline, obedience, anything? Duryodhan, being Duryodhan, something he won't have muttered. And she said, I cannot repeat this incidence. The boon that I have is that this power remains valid only once. It is something that can be redeemed only once. There is no second chance. So anyway, now your body has been given an extra coat of armor by my sight. You are already quite strong, I can see that. But now your body will become very unbreakable, invincible, except for the part that you have chosen to cover. Now contrast this with the relationship between Arjun and Krishna. Now here, obviously, in case of Duryodhan, physical nakedness is involved. Physical nakedness. And Duryodhan could not become naked even in the physical, the gross sense. Whereas physical nakedness is far easier than psychic nakedness. It is far, far easier to get naked physically in front of someone than to get naked mentally, inwardly. There are so many people who get naked in front of each other. By the time you are 12 or 14, the sexual urge starts overpowering you. And teenagers and preteens start getting naked in front of each other. And there is nothing much in that. That's an event of zero significance. Like kids playing with each other. each other's genitals, that is. Nothing in that. An event that has zero significance, zero importance, means nothing. Stripping yourself off clothes is just something so easy, so cheap, so commonplace. And therefore it is not called love. Just because you can get naked in front of someone, that's not love. Love is when you can get inwardly naked in front of someone, and that is very difficult. Very difficult. Two persons can breed 6 kids without ever having gotten naked in front of each other. If you know what I mean. There can be a man, there can be a woman, and they can have 6 babies without ever having seen each other naked. It is very much possible. Not because they were having sex in the dark, but because nakedness is much more than taking off your clothes. It's much more than that. Vedanta has the concept of existence as the truth covered by sheaths. Have you heard of that? Kosh. The Panchakosh. Have you heard of that? So there is the truth. And the truth is wearing 5 layers of clothing. The truth is wearing 5 layers of clothing. We do wear many. Even in India. If you think of winters, often it does happen that you have 5 layers of clothing. Starting from your undergarments, there would be 5. It's possible. So that's the concept Vedanta came up with. There is the truth, and the truth is wearing 5 layers. They are called 5 kosh, Panchkosh. So there is the outermost, then this. To be naked is to remove your clothes layer after layer till all that remains is the truth. That's nakedness. Forget about revealing Atma, the truth itself, to the mother. He could not go beyond even the skin. Rather, he could not come even to the skin. He could not reveal even the skin properly and fully to the mother. Instead, he revealed at some place in the body, instead of skin, a piece of cloth or leaves or something, paper, depends on what he got. Are you getting it? So difficult it is to be open and exposed and vulnerable. So difficult. And it is just an indicator of our huge body centricity that we start calling someone naked if he or she is wearing no clothes. If you are wearing no clothes, that's not at all an indicator of your nakedness. No. That simply means you are unclothed. That does not mean you are naked. Nakedness is something that you require to earn. Nakedness is not something that you achieve just by undressing. Among Jains, you have heard of Digambars. I would say it is a mistake to think that you can become a Digambar just by giving up clothes. Dig is the sky. The sky. When you are nothing except the sky, when there is nothing sheathing or covering your inner sky, only then you are Digambar. Otherwise you are not. I repeat, being naked is no child's play. It requires a lot of seriousness, a lot of sadhana to get naked. Even the child is not naked. It requires one to achieve the consciousness of a Krishna, a Buddha, a Mahavir, to really get naked. Nakedness is not the body of a Mahavir. Nakedness is the consciousness of a Mahavir. But because we are body-centric people, we look at his body and we think, oh, because the man is sitting without clothes, hence he is naked. Yes, obviously he is naked, but not because he is without clothes. He is naked because he is without Maya. Maya is your avaran. Maya is your kosh. Maya is what shrouds and sheaths you. Maya is your blanket. Are you getting it? Maya is your cage. To be naked is to be out of the cage. Are we together on this? Huh? So it's an injustice to the word naked to just call a sparsely clothed or unclothed person as naked. Equally, it's an injustice to the word revealing. If you start calling someone as wearing revealing clothing, just because his or her body parts are visible. Revelation is divine. Just because you are showing a bit of your thigh or hips or cleavage, that does not mean you have revealed anything. You have revealed nothing. Revelation is when an Ashtavakra opens up the world to a Janak. Revelation is when a Krishna causes a Gita to descend on an Arjun. That's revelation. So, what's beautiful here in these verses, including verse 8, is Arjun's childlike nakedness. Arjun is not afraid of being called emotional or attached or deluded or afraid. He says, doesn't matter. I am a kid and here is the daddy. And there is no shame in exposing oneself fully to the father. Contrast that with what Duryodhan did with his mortal mother. And probably that's why. Probably that's why. When it comes to a mortal being, it becomes very difficult to expose yourself. Probably that's the reason. We said husbands and wives and lovers are rarely able to be naked in front of each other. Because when the other one is just a body and is looking at you just as a body, how do you expose yourself without the body to that person? Are you getting it? He is a body. I am a body. To the two of us, we are bodies. I am a body to him. He is a body to himself. He is a body to me. I am a body to myself. Body to body. That's the game. Now, how do I expose myself, sense the body to him? Therefore, it becomes very difficult. You see, Duryodhana and Gandhari is a mother-son relationship. There we find real nakedness became difficult. It actually didn't happen. And we said it does not also happen between lovers and husbands and wives. But between Krishna and Arjuna it's happening because it's not a body-to-body relationship. That's what is needed in a real relationship. Pure nakedness. A nakedness beyond disrobing. A nakedness beyond taking off your clothes. Now, that does not mean that couples don't have to take off their clothes. You may decide to take off clothes, you may not decide to take off clothes. All that we said is pretty insignificant. What really matters is atmic nakedness. Are you really exposed? And why does it matter to be exposed? Because that which makes a relationship worthwhile is that which you need to expose. Without exposure, the relationship will not carry any substance, any weight. What is it that remains hidden? That's what is called Atma, right? There are the 5 sheaths, and beneath these 5 sheaths is the Atma, the self, the truth. And that's what needs to be exposed. And then the relationship is atmic. The relationship is truthful. Are you getting it? So Arjun, to his credit, is peeling off his layers as much as possible. As much as possible. Later on, much later on, a religious fellow from the West wrote a book called Confessions. But if you look at the Bhagavad Gita, what Arjun is coming up with are really instances of very courageous confessions. One cannot confess so candidly, so honestly, if one's ego is still competing with the one to whom the confessions are being made. If the ego is still comparing itself and competing with the one in front of itself, then it will find it very difficult to confess. Do you see the reason? How can I confess in front of him? Because if I confess, then my stature would be diminished. That can happen only when there is competitiveness. That can happen only when the ego has no realistic sense of its real size with respect to the size of a Krishna. That Arjun is prepared to peel his layers off and expose himself fully to Krishna shows that in some sense he is already very internally, spiritually advanced. He says, what's the point in hiding from him? What's the point in competing with him? He is just too big and too far and too very beyond. In fact, my best hope lies in just standing naked in front of him. He's not concerned. What if Krishna makes fun of me? What will happen to the image of this greatest archer and the fiercest warrior on the face of earth? What if Krishna goes around telling everybody how Arjuna was scared? He is not entertaining all these thoughts. He could have done that, right? I'm making a confession. I'm making myself very vulnerable. What if he misuses this information? Krishna. What if he starts tom-tomming all that he has just heard from me? What will happen to my brand value? Not even the best PR agency will be then able to revive my brand. Because Arjun, think of Arjun, who he is, the mightiest warrior. And he is very plainly admitting to Krishna, my skin is burning, my legs are shivering, my arms are torn of all power. I cannot even lift the Gandiv. I'm collapsing. All this is so unseemly. Arjun could have said, let me pretend. Let me simply say, I got COVID or something, so can't fight. That would have been an easy way out. No. And Krishna, you too must go away, otherwise you will catch it. It's so easy to lie to save yourself, no? So easy. It's so easy to come up with manufactured arguments. And apparently they work. If Arjun simply says, I got diarrhea, Krishna is now not going to pull him to a path lab or something. He will leave him at that. Fine, you got diarrhea, what do I do? That happened. We were playing badminton. Raghav was partnering me in doubles. And I was probably getting a bit too much for him. I want my partners to put in as much as I do. They're 200%. But that was long back. There is no shame in that. Don't hang your head. You have come a long way since then. And I'm proud of that. So we were in a winning position, but he was doing what he used to do then, not today. And it got a bit to my head. And I must have said something to him. And he just ran away in the middle. He said, I have to go to the loo. Imagine, in the middle of a double game, the fellow has absconded. But there is nothing to laugh about it now. To his great credit, he has stayed put. And just a few days back, I was watching him play Sanjay. And he was playing beautifully. In fact, I'm looking forward to playing with him one of these days. The point here is, it is very easy to run away. It's very easy to come up with false excuses. Very easy. And it's very difficult to reveal what the euphemistically call as your soul event to your father. Very difficult. And that's where even a Krishna cannot help you. Even a Krishna waits for your choice to occur. The moment when you prefer to drop your clothes, he will wait. If you don't drop your clothes and instead he shreds them, that would be some kind of rape. No? So he waits for your consent. He waits for you to get naked on your own. Otherwise, the Bhagavad Gita is not needed, the 700 verses. If Krishna, as it is said, is omnipotent, he could have simply forced or charmed Arjun to fight. No. Why does he need to convince Arjun so laboriously? Krishna is omnipotent. He could have simply ordered or charmed or did something to that effect. What was even the need to have a war? He could have simply decimated the Kauravas on his own. And he didn't need to decimate all the warriors on the Kaurav side. Just eliminating one or two key ones would have sufficed. Krishna could have easily done that and avoided all the bloodshed and all the drama. No. You have to choose to get naked. It's a very voluntary thing. Very voluntary thing. And that's the difference between Vedanta and a lot of other philosophies. The almighty power in Vedanta is not an autocrat. The almighty power in Vedanta is not a despot sitting on the skies. The almighty power in Vedanta does not rule. Does not command. Does not bless or curse. And most of all, does not fulfill your desires. Which almighty power am I talking of? Atma. Atma, the truth. Atma is not God. Atma is not God. Self is not God. Truth is not God. Are you getting it? Atma is neither the doer nor the creator. God is supposed to be both the doer and the creator. Atma is witness. What does witness mean? It does nothing. Both the creation and the experiencer of the creation are two sides of Maya. So what does Atma have to do with creation? No, Atma is not the creator. So there is a lot of difference between Atma and God, truth and God. In Vedanta, there is nothing called as God. Vedanta simply means utmost dedication to the truth, and that's Brahm, Atma, Satya. Had Krishna been God, he could have simply forced matters. He could have simply pushed his way through Arjun's resistance. Arjun is resisting and he could have commanded, Arjun, here comes a commandment. Thou shalt fight. No commandments. A lot of counseling, however. You see, when liberation is the goal, the method has to be very liberal at least. So there will be counseling, not commanding. There would be explanations, not orders. At most, it is said that sometimes the truth seduces, but nobody can say the truth traps. So that's Vedanta for you. Atma can at most seduce you with its beauty, utter beauty. Satyam Shivam Sundaram. It's beautiful. It seduces you, it calls you, it beckons. But you can never say it traps you, ensnares you. It does nothing. It does not even provide you the fruits of your actions. When it comes to God, we often say, if you do something bad, then God will give you bad results. Vedanta says, karma and karma phal do not require any mediating agency. If there is karma, there is karma phal. You do not require a God in between. Does not matter whether you are astic or nastic. If you throw up a stone, the stone will come back to the earth. Or are you saying that if you are an astic, then the stone will be thrown back to the earth by God, and if you are a nastic, then karma phal will not be obtained? Karma and karma phal are automatic. They do not require the presence of any mediating agency called God in between. God gives you no karma phal. But that's how it is often understood in many religious streams, right? God will punish you or God will reward you. That's how they say, right? If something bad happens to you, then the punishment has come down from the heavens. Or if you get a baby, they say it is God's gift. What has God done in that? Vedanta is more mature. Vedanta is not 2 years of age. Vedanta says, Karma and karmaphal are two sides of the same coin. The doer is the experiencer. The doer of the act is the experiencer of the fruit of the act. Full stop. No God, etc. are needed in between to do anything. Two people do something equally stupid, they will get the same output, irrespective of what their religious beliefs are like. Similarly, if you do something stupid, no God can save you. If you decide to jump down from the 12th floor of a building, no hand of God is going to come and save you. Not even some kind of a Spider-Man. A Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, and an atheist. The five of them decide to jump together. All five will meet the same fate. Are you getting it? What is truth then? The fact that no karma phal, no fruit of any action that the actor, the doer does, is ever going to fulfill you. So when you give up your identity as a doer, as an actor, what is left is the truth. That's Vedanta. Vedanta is not about serving a God who will give you nice fruits of prescribed actions. Vedanta is about moving beyond the need to have any nice fruits. It's another dimension. It's another league of maturity. Do you see how God and desire are intertwined? If there is no desire, do you need God? Whenever you have thought of God, it's always with respect to a desire, right? And Vedanta is about transcending the desire itself. Therefore, Vedanta transcends God. Vedanta transcends God. Because Vedanta transcends desire. Vedanta transcends doer. Vedanta transcends the need to have great results. That's Vedanta. Are you getting it? Arjun stands naked. And that's what tells Krishna that this fellow is now available. He is now offering me his consent. I can now give him something that he will accept with love. Because what Krishna is going to say, and mind you, the point where we are, chapter 2, verse 8 or 9, Krishna has yet not really started speaking. So far, it's been Arjun all the way. And it's these words of Arjun that are telling Krishna, this fellow can be spoken to. He deserves what I'm now going to give him. He has exposed himself in love. And therefore, I can now offer him the gift of love called Gita. Mind you, the Gita is not available to be just intellectually comprehended. If you are resistant in exposing yourself, you will never be able to comprehend the Gita. The Gita is only for those who stand in front of Krishna as naked babies do in front of their mothers. Nothing to hide. I am not even exposing anything to you, mother. All that is there here is something that has come from nobody but you. So, even to say I am exposing would be some kind of an exaggeration and a falsehood. To reveal something, first of all, there must be something of my own to reveal, but there is nothing of my own. All this is just yours. So here I am. And probably these are the signals that a Krishna waits for. Otherwise, Arjun has been ranting since long. And Krishna said nothing. Now he says, fine. The situation is ripe. The earth has been worked upon. Now, if I put a seed here, probably it will take life. Arjun has done a lot of homework, rather earthwork. He has tilled the inner land. He has exposed the soil. And now I can say these things. These are seeds. The verses, the shlokas, they are just seeds. And if your inner soil is not yet ready, these seeds never germinate. And that's what has happened to millions of people who have been listening to the Gita. The Gita is a very potent seed. Nothing wrong with the verses. But if your insides are all just sandy and arid and unprepared and unwatered, how will the seed ever sprout? So people have gone on listening to the Gita since centuries, and very, very few have been able to really understand what Krishna is actually trying to communicate. They mug up the verses. And even today, you'll have thousands of people. You just tell them, chapter 8, verse 5. That's so much like Googling or Alexa. You just say, chapter 8, verse 5, and off they go. And that they consider as their proficiency in Gita. They say, see how scholarly we are. We can recite the verses. And there is then so much hype and hoopla. All over the media, the report is 4-year-old kid is able to recite 700 verses of Gita. It's such a stupid thing to do. Why are you molesting the kid? What does he know of the Gita at 4 years of age? You have simply crammed the thing in. That's what you have done, right? And that's a disservice to the kid and the Gita, both. Is that not so? The Gita cannot come to you by way of memory, by way of intellectual comprehension. It comes when, like an Arjun, and I'm repeating this for the nth time in the last 1 hour, when, like an Arjun, you just get naked. That nakedness is of supreme value. And a Krishna, by definition, is wise. He will not throw seeds where they cannot germinate. What's the point? Would a Krishna throw seeds on some metallic turf? Or on dry rocks? He won't. He says the seeds have to be thrown where there is at least some probability of them receiving love, care, nourishment. The verses have to be received in great love, in great empathy. Otherwise, you can militate against the verses. And a lot of people do that, don't they? You can pick up any verse and come up with a meaning of your own. That's very stupid, but also very hard to argue against. That's the irony. You can have a very stupid position that you can argue very strongly in favor of. And your argument can be invincible. And the other person would know in his heart that what you are speaking is crap. Yet he would not know how to defeat your argument. And that's the way you can keep yourself safely protected against the Gita. Pick up a verse, come up with some loveless but intelligent meaning and declare the Gita to be useless for you. The Gita is not useless. You are loveless. To a fellow like you, Krishna would not have uttered a single word. That's the touchstone. If ever you find yourself strongly disagreeing with the Gita, just ask yourself, would Krishna ever have spoken these words to me? The answer would be a resounding no. No. Never. And then it becomes obvious why you can't comprehend the Gita. Because the Gita is anyway not for you. The original one, the author, would not have agreed to let these verses come to your ears. And that's why even today, when these verses are coming to you, you are unable to receive them with love. But why is Krishna withholding his consent? Because you are withholding your consent. Krishna has no consent of his own. He just waits. He waits for your love. The moment you give your love, he gives his consent. And how do you give your love? By giving up on your resistance, which I am today calling as your clothing. When you give up your resistance, which is your clothes, your sheaths, your avaran, your kosh, that's when you find that the author's love is forthcoming and boundless. Are you getting it? अवाप्य भूमाव अस्पत्नम रिद्धम राज्यम सुराणामपि चाधिपत्यम. I do not understand whether there is anything that can remove this sorrow that overpowers my senses, my mind, basically. That's the sense being talked of. That overpowers my mind. Even if this war were to give me aspatnam, unrivaled and ever increasing control over the entire earth and even lordship over the gods. Arjun is saying, my current emotion is overpowering all the other desires that a normal human being can have. What are the desires that a normal human being can have? Lot of money, power, authority, swarg, heavens, the riches of the heavens. No rivals in sight, therefore complete security. That's what the normal mind asks for. Arjun says, even the lure of those desires at this moment is insufficient to pull me out of my sorrow. This sorrow has become bigger for my mind than anything else. It's just grown on me and become bigger than anything else. Come on. Name the temptation that you can offer. And any temptation that you can offer, or any fear, any other kind of arousal or provocation or temptation, that to me at this moment is smaller than the sorrow that has controlled me. That's the thing, with all emotions and desires. There is nothing special about Arjun's state. Think of any emotional state. In that state, aren't the other things that you usually desire or pine for, don't they become a little inconsequential? That's the thing with desire. It's a 1,000-headed monster. It's an octopus with 1,000 arms. And when it catches you with any one particular arm, that one arm gains the cumulative power of all the 1,000. Are you getting it? Try to understand what I'm saying. We don't have a single desire. We have multiple desires. We have 1,000 desires. But at a given moment, there is only one desire. That one desire could be an amalgamation of 5 desires. That is possible. For example, the desire could be to please your wife and your boss. So there is one desire to please your family, and there is another desire to please your boss. And you want both these together. So the name of this unified desire is, I want to please my family and my boss. So that's one desire. So at any given moment, you have only one desire, even if that desire itself has seeds of conflict within itself. That's okay. But the desire is one. And when you have that one desire, it sucks in the power of all other desires. So let's say 1 unit of power is normally allotted to all the 1,000 arms of the octopus. But when the octopus grips you with any one arm, then what's the power that one arm has? 1,000 units. And all the other arms at that moment are devoid of any power. And that's what Arjun is narrating here. Arjun is saying all the other temptations and desires and things have become so irrelevant, inconsequential to me. All the other arms of desire have lost all their power. And all the power has come to just one desire. And that desire right now is to run away. I want to run away. With a 1,000-watt desire. The next day, Arjun would have some other desire. How much power would that desire have? Again, 1,000 watts. A week later, there would be another desire. How much power would that have? And that's how desire makes an utter fool of each of us. Does it not? The particular desire that you have in the moment becomes everything for you. It becomes your universe. Everything else is lost upon you. Nothing remains except that which you want at that moment. The combined might of the remaining 999 proves insufficient to lure you away from that one almighty desire of that moment. Does it not? What to do then? The answer would come from Krishna. Here is an early trailer. No desire can be a cure to another one. You cannot deter a man from stealing some jewelry by offering him respectability. Even if the deterrence is experienced, it would be very short-lived. There is a desire to steal jewelry, And there is also a desire to remain respectable. Now you find somebody stealing and you tell him, you don't steal. You don't steal, and I'll tell nobody that you were caught stealing. Instead, I'll say that you are a very charitable person and a great donor and such things. And we'll felicitate you. We'll have a civilian gathering and garland you atop some podium. So that's like trying to vanquish one desire with the help of another, right? That works, but only very superficially and very temporally. For a short while, you can lure away that man, not for too long. What then is the way of the Gita? The way of the Gita is the way within. Atmagyan, self-knowledge. Not substituting one desire with the other, but directly knowing who the desirous one is and what he really wants. That's the way of the Gita. I want one more chocolate. Okay, if you do not take that chocolate, I'll buy you one more small car. And the child gives up on the chocolate. It seems to work, does it not? Nothing has worked. You have just allowed the multi-headed and the multi-armed, rather, octopus to catch you with another arm. Please tell me, how has it helped you? How has it helped you? Or has it? I have a double barrel gun. Double barrel gun, right? How would you like to be killed? Through the left barrel or the right one? The way of the Gita is way of immortality. I do not want to be killed. I refuse this choice. And the way of the world is, when you are about to be killed by the left barrel, you opt for the right one. And when the right one is about to kill you, you opt for that's duality. The shuttlecock. If you are here, you'll be killed here. Therefore, you go there. But if you stay there, you'll be killed there. So you rush back this side. That's duality. The Gita says, no, this is no good. You're not born for this. You have to understand who you are and what is it that threatens to kill you. Understand. No. Realize. This is the situation of every human being. Arjun, we are saying, is special because he is unabashedly, without any qualms, without any pretense, just exposing himself fully. He does not care for respect or self-respect or anything. And that's the reason why very soon now he would be gifted the Gita. And in response to this kind of sorrow, the very first thing that Krishna would say to him is in itself sufficient to constitute an entire scripture. That one verse. Soon after this, what is it that Krishna is going to tell Arjun? Dude, you are grieving for those who do not deserve to be grieved for. Full stop. Full stop. And that's just half a verse, by the way. Full stop. And if one has sufficient love, this half a verse is sufficient. It depends on how much love you have. And then the next one is not very significant. The significant one comes 2 verses later. I don't suppose we'll reach there today. But anyway, the 9th one says, Evam uktva rishikesham gudakesha parantapah na yotsya ite govindam uktva tushnim babhuvaha. And Arjun says, Sir, this is my inner condition. And in this inner condition, I cannot fight. I cannot fight. And he becomes silent. And that's that surrender. And that's a signal to Krishna to now say whatever he has to. Sir, I have narrated to you my inner condition, and this inner condition, there is no way I can fight. I have hidden nothing from you. I am your child. I am exposed. I stand naked. At the same time, being a child, I can do no more. This is the maximum. Over to you. From my side, over and out.